Back before the Power Ranger craze or Pokemania, I had two obsessions, one being the mega popular Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the others was Ghostbusters. I would have my mom record episodes of their cartoon, The Real Ghostbusters, on VHS, and rewatch them almost daily. The movies were a frequent rental in our household, and me and my brothers would be kicking mountains of Ecto Cooler juice boxes around in the back of our mother's vehicle, to the point where it looked like it'd been slimed. Delicious slime. But as with most fads children go through, I moved on and never really looked back at the franchise. That was true until 2009 when Ghostbusters the Video Game was released on 360, PS3, and the Nintendo Wii. This game had the spirit, see what I did there, of a true movie sequel, and hearing the gang back together, palling around, just got its hooks in me in a major way. And just like that, I was consumed by the fandom once again thanks to this game. Here we are again 10 years later, and I get a chance to replay this one on my Switch. But did it manage to impact me the same way as it did before? Let's find out as we review Ghostbusters the Video Game Remastered on the Nintendo Switch. When this game originally launched back in 2009, the franchise had been on a near 20-year hiatus. And this game was marketed and pushed to be the catalyst of the Ghostbusters revival. There was a ton of love and care brought to this project as a result of that. Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd was brought back to write the script, much like they did with the films, and along with Ernie Hudson and Bill Murray, they reprised their roles as the Ghostbusters. I actually found out about this game on a bag of Doritos for what seemed like a year before the game actually launched. In that game, Dorito ads were sprinkled throughout your entire adventure. Doesn't seem like they were interested in advertising this go around though, as remnants of that has been scrubbed out and replaced by crispy snacks. We all know what that logo is. I remember talks of a third Ghostbusters movie swirling around the net around this time, with Dan Aykroyd stating that a script was completed, and Bill Murray couldn't do an interview without having to dodge a question about his role in a new film. New merchandise was stocked on shelves, and the cartoon The Real Ghostbusters was released on DVD and Blu-ray in a fantastic package. I was completely enthralled by the series again, and it seemed like with the launch of this game, the franchise was as healthy as it had ever been in a long time. Fast forward 10 years later, and we all know that's not the case anymore, with the movies only getting a reboot that was controversial and only managed to bring toxicity to the franchise. I'm not gonna get into all that here though, but as with most reboots, it does seem to cheapen the original product. I think fans were more interested in a sequel that was more of a passing of the torch type of film, but that's what makes this game so interesting now. Ghostbusters the Video Game, a game that was supposed to revive the franchise, is actually where it died. Well, you know what I mean, with the original cast. Of course, they could always revisit the reboot universe or try some new sequel to the original without Bill Murray, who's pretty much written off any chances of returning to the role of Peter Venkman, and most sadly the passing of Harold Ramis. But the game will forever mark the last time the original gang ever worked together. Good news though, because as a final project together, it works as sort of a third movie in the franchise, and in that sense, it's stellar. The unfortunate thing is that experience is locked behind a 10-year-old game that's now starting to show its age. Let's start with what made me love this game so much 10 years ago when I first beat it on my 360. The story and the universe that they built here. It's part movie sequel to the films and part interactive theme park ride.
Part of our settlement with the city, proton packs must remain off in heavily populated public areas.
And in close quarters. It minimizes the city's liabilities and satisfies the restraining order the maid here had put on us.
The world we live in today, you shoot.
What I mean by that is you enjoy the story by taking the backseat to the four Ghostbusters. You have no story here, but you do get to take the pleasure of interacting with the heroes as they embark on an adventure. Kinda sorta like the Back to the Future ride at the Universal theme park, or other interactive pieces of media like it. It really does work as a great storytelling mechanism, and it left me smiling on many occasions as I watched the guys trade quips like they did in the movies that came before the game. And the performances these guys brought were amazing. You could tell they were having a ton of fun revisiting their characters. Ray and Egon would drone over the pseudoscience cleverly invented to fill out the lore of the Ghostbusters universe. Winston would keep you calm and level-headed with the occasional dad joke, and Peter is as dry and sarcastic as ever, delivering lines in only a way that Bill Murray can. Most of the iconic locations from the film are present too, bar the Gozer building. You have access to the Ghostbusters firehouse, the New York Public Library, and the Sledgewick Hotel, and some new locations that are a perfect fit for the Ghostbusters lore. Speaking of the lore, it's mostly expanded on from the first film, and you'll get to see some of the most recognizable ghosts from that film, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow, the Grey Lady, and new ghosts like the Spider Witch, who not only scared the crap out of me, but is a perfect fit for the Ghostbusters mythos. As for the returning ghosts, they really broaden their stories here by focusing on levels mostly based around their characters. Ever wanted to know how the Grey Lady, Eleanor Twitty, dies? Well, this game dives deep into her backstory, and how she overall ties to the Ghostbuster narrative as a whole. If you like the sound of that, then there's a lot more of that here to love, and this one, as the entire Shandor and Gozer storyline is busted open and elaborated on in so much detail that you'll probably miss most of it. It's seriously good stuff. And with the PKE scans to fill out even more of the Ghostbusters universe, there's a ton of story content to go through. As a fan myself, I simply loved it. There's the gameplay, and it's not terrible, and it's certainly the best the series has ever seen in its video game adaptations. But it is dated. It's a third-person shooter for the most part, and games like Dead Space and RE4 just did it better. Outside of exploring, the meat of the game is capturing ghosts. You zap them, and you trap them. Sounds like it should be really fun, and when it works, it is. Problem is that some of these areas where you capture the ghost are way too open, bringing a great distance between yourself and your catch. Other times when you enter more closed-in spaces, an area can be really cluttered, forcing you to clear out the area before you can even consider opening up your capture stream. Your Proton Pack is multifunctional in this game, offering different streams to use on the offensive or use to solve puzzles when exploring. Outside of fulfilling your duties of a Ghostbuster, you'll find a great deal of your time used on exploring. This is a very linear, chapter-by-chapter based game, but whipping out your PKE meter and checking out what's ahead of you is almost demanded to progress forward. It's true that you could push ahead and clear a chapter in probably less than 20 minutes, but you'll have missed out on the Easter eggs this game is littered with, the ghost scans which offer up a little history on the ghouls, and even the weakness to each one, and most importantly the artifacts that go back to the firehouse with you. These artifacts either tie back to the films or there's some kind of neat gag for a good chuckle. As a pretty big fan of the Ghostbusters franchise as a whole, this package left me smiling throughout most of my playthrough, and this game is pretty much the third unofficial movie in the duology. For that reason alone, it deserves to be remastered as often as possible for people wanting to experience more from the Ghostbusters universe. Unfortunately, this experience is tied behind an aging game, but if you can handle the very mild clunkiness that comes with its age, you'll be treated to a swan song worthy of the title Ghostbusters 3. We're giving Ghostbusters the Video Game Remastered a 3.9 out of 5.
I'm on the ropes, Lobster! Land the last one so we can go home!
You've killed my dessert!